And we are live. We are live. We are live. We are live. And we are Watford. And we have another win. A win at home against West Bromwich Albion. Welcome to this edition of You ORNS Watford FC post-match on X. And of course, on YouTube. It's great to have you aboard, fellow Watford supporters. My name is Omar, a Watford supporter here in the United States of America, born and bred in the area just outside Watford. But it's really great to be with fellow Watford supporters, especially after this one today. Watford 2, West Bromwich Albion 1. That was my predicted score. If you heard me on the pre-match, I predicted it would be a Watford 2-1 victory, and I also predicted that Watford would score in the first half of the game, so I got both of those correct. But most importantly, far more importantly than my predictions, are that Watford got these 3 points. And they did it the way that I was hoping they would. I called for this on Friday. I'm not the only Watford fan, I'm sure, who did. And that was to start Vatter and Bar together. And you saw the results of that. It paid dividends for this club, for this team. Really, really good stuff from both of them today. They played their socks off. Vatter with the assist for the Crow, Mr. Bio, who got 2 goals today, got a brace. He's up to 9 on the season now. So that's looking good. And the play by all of these lads today was brilliant. I didn't think anyone put a foot wrong. But the real star of this show today, who stole the thunder of Bar, who stole the thunder of Vatter, was obviously Georgie. Georgie Chakvetazda has been a revelation at this club. Ever since he's got here, we have seen just how much potential he's got. And today, he is easily the You ORNS man of the match. The You ORNS Watford FC man of the match is Georgie Chakvetazda by a country mile. He put this team on his back throughout this match. Absolutely brilliant stuff for me with Georgie today. The best game he's played in the Watford shirt. The influence, the energy, the creation, the creativity, the imagination. He did everything right today. Very, very few things wrong. He personified the spirit of this team under Tom Cleverley. He really is like a Tom Cleverley out there on the pitch, except he's got a bit more skill than Tom Cleverley did in his playing days. The marauding runs that were required. What I called for was to stretch the pitch against West Brom, to make use of the full pitch in this contest. I called for that all weekend long. They had to use the pitch well. I said this in the pre-match. Use the full length and the full width of your pitch. And Watford did that to a T today against a stubborn West Brom side who gave us a lot of issues in that second half. And it started really principally after we scored the first goal in the first half. West Brom came awful close. They made change after change, but it didn't quite work for them. But they put us under the cosh for a significant amount of time after we dominated the first 20 minutes or so of that second half as well. Watford balanced today, I thought, in both halves. Good play, but we had to play both sides of the ball very well, and we did. Bottom line is the goal that we conceded was really the fault of the defenders. We let them have too much space. I think we let them come onto us a bit in that second half. And so as a result of that, you saw the goal. It wasn't Backman's fault. Backman got a hand to that. It's a strong shot. He did well to get a hand to it. And I know some Watford fans will probably go, well, Backman should have had that. But when a ball's being struck 75, whatever, 80, 90 miles an hour at you, and you get a hand to it, you're doing pretty well there. I mean, I'm not going to fault Backman for the goal. It doesn't really matter at this point. It's all academic because we've got the W. But the fact is that the defense, I think that's the first defensive mistake we've made in 4 games. And the bottom line is the birthday boy, Paul Robinson, who was the birthday man yesterday for Watford, has been really responsible for the defensive positioning. They've been excellent on that. And he has really made a difference there. We've only conceded 2 goals in the last 5 games. Last 4 games or so. Yeah, you can't complain about that. I'm going to get to your comments. I'm going to read them out. And I also invite you, if you're on X, to have a go by making comments or hitting the request button, which will you can do that if you're on X listening right now. But if you're on YouTube, I will read out your comments. And if you're on X, you can leave a comment there as well. I will read those out. Great to see you all. Welcome to this You ORNS post-match. My name is Omar. And again, great to have you as fellow Watford supporters listening and watching. Here is what they are saying right now on YouTube. Let's hear it. Matt, one of the regular commenters to the YouTube channel at You ORNS WFC. Please subscribe and like the videos. Thank you, Matt, for all of your comments. Always appreciated. What you say is tremendously valued and respected, as is anything that a Watford fan has to say about Watford or this game, whether we agree or not. Thank you very much, Matt. He says, get in. Unbeaten home run continues. Absolutely the stuff of it, Matt. We are unbeaten. That's 16 consecutive now under Tom Cleverley. Unbeaten since he got here last April or March when he was interim, and then April when he was basically named the ruler of the roost in these parts of Hertfordshire. We have not put a foot wrong with Mr. Cleverley, and that was a very, very important win today. Listen, after what we did against Hull, we did the stuttering there, the stuttering and the muttering and the uttering and the whole thing with Plymouth and the stuff with QPR. This game against the top 6 side is what Watford were made of to win this game today. We stuttered against teams in the bottom 4 or 5, but we have come to the table against these teams above us or around us. With the exception of Sheffield United, we've beaten everyone and Leeds. With the exception of Sheffield United and Leeds, who both are going to go up. I don't care what anybody tells me. We've beaten every one of these other sides. We beat Middlesbrough, right? They're above us. We beat Sunderland, who are above us. I mean, and now we beat West Brom, who are above us. No longer. We are 7th. I'm going to come to David in just one moment. Here's the rest of your comments. Richard Lees on YouTube says, good afternoon, Omar. Tough game for us, but we came through with the 3 points. Absolutely, Richard. David, I invite you to come on if you wish to and have your say. Eugene McGeever, what was your Watford player ratings against West Brom? Eugene, I'll get to that in a few moments, I promise you. Matt says, man of the match for me was Chapatazda, but you could have given it to Vata for his 2 assists or even Bio for his 2 goals. Good point there, Matt. Get in, says Brown Electrons. Before his goals, Brown adds, I actually thought Bio was playing poorly. Glad he turned it around. Bio was having a rather nondescript game, I would agree with you there, but he got 2 goals. Should have had a 3rd as well. Bio really upped his game after that. And again, 9 goals on the season, Brown. Not too bad for a man who we've criticized a lot here. He's got 9 on the season for you now. And Mr. Briz says, solid win. Great to see us start the first half strong. Good on Bio for scoring 2. Rocco Vata starting was great. Tom Cleverley showed intent today. Mr. Briz, 110% from you. I totally agree. This is all of what I called for, and I'm so glad that Clevs and company did this and that Vata showed up big time. I like Bar today as well. Vata was excellent. But Georgie, again, as I said earlier, the YOU ORNS, Watford FC, man of the match. And now, David, thank you for your patience. It's over to you, David, live on X. Thank you, David, for your time. And now we go to you for your comments. David, it's over to you.
Hi, Omar. Obviously, we spoke after the whole match, and I think we were just looking for a bit of a response today, and I think we got exactly that. And I think we showed it in multiple ways as well. I think it was a pretty even game, but I think, offensively we looked very, very strong, which hasn't been the case recently. And once we got our 2-0 lead, we looked like we were probably more likely to get a 3rd than they were to get back into the game. So, it was a real sucker punch to concede. But then, again, I wasn't convinced at all by the decision from Cleverley to go pretty much into our shell and defend the rest of the game out. But I think we did that pretty well overall when you look at what West Brom created after that point. So much to be pleased with, and obviously 3 points after a few draws and that sort of thing. Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant today.
Yeah, David, this is a marvelous performance, I think, in all respects. And you can definitely question Tom Cleverley electing for us to go into our shell defensively, because I think that did happen a bit. But you do know, and as everyone else knows as well, David, that there's going to be inevitably parts of a game, no matter how much on top you are, where you are going to be required to have to dig in for a bit of time to defend things. And so Watford didn't really have to do a lot of that today until the second half, when they really did have to bear down for that 20-minute stretch. And then I thought once Watford were able to see that through, they would be able to create a couple of opportunities themselves. And they did late on in the game. I thought bringing on Larousse was key to disrupting that West Brom momentum a bit, David, because then what you ended up having is someone that could drag us up the pitch a bit more and also provide some supplement to Georgie, who was doing everything for us. He carried us on his back, especially in that second half. So absolutely understand where you're coming from with the comment there, David. And I definitely agree with you. I think that our performance was really important today, given the magnitude of this game. Watford had to win this game today, David. We have so many away games coming up. You know, we've beaten teams around us in the top 5 or 6, as I alluded to just before you spoke. And we'd been struggling, as you pointed out, and as I pointed out as well, against them teams who are in the bottom 5 or 6 of the table. QPR we couldn't get a win from, couldn't get a win at Hull or at Plymouth. Struggled. We obviously lost earlier in the season to Preston. You know, these kinds of teams, these are the kinds of teams we need to be beaten. Now, QPR, again, is better than where they're showing themselves on the table. But generally speaking, we need to be beating them teams in and around the bottom area of the table if we're going to get to the playoffs or better than that. But right now we're 7th, David. So look, I think all in all, terrific game. And I guess you say that Georgie's man of the match as well, yes?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, yeah, he was absolutely outstanding today. Yeah, ran rings around them. I sort of had the West Brom commentary on for a period of time, and they were sort of hailing him. Yeah, just complimenting him. He was absolutely everywhere. A bit of a shame, obviously, he didn't get a goal. But yeah, he was by far a man of the match. And yeah, there were a number of good performances. I think, yeah, it was a marked improvement on recent times. But yeah, to get another home win is massive.
Absolutely.
Yeah, positives throughout. I was very disappointed with the goal that we conceded. That I thought Sissoko, if we do have to touch on some negatives, I thought was pretty terrible. I mean, the lack of effort for the goal, I thought was really disappointing, and I'd say it was probably our best moment in the match as well. So to let them back in was really disappointing. Also, I think we should probably mention that it was definitely a foul for the second goal. Like, if we're going to be balanced, the referee was, well, as he often is, Gavin Ward was terrible. So yeah, we have to kind of mention that as quite an important moment in the match, but obviously we took it, and yeah, massive for Bio, confidence, and yeah, brilliant all round today.
Yep, absolutely, David. Good stuff as always. And yeah, Sissoko, I think he had some good moments in this game, but not consistently. And Bio, yeah, 2 goals from Bio, mate. I mean, again, for those of us, and there's been a lot of us, and I'm a Bio fan actually, and I've criticized him at times as well. But for those of us who aren't Bio fans, I think we've got to be content today. 2 goals, nine on the season. I mean, we're not halfway through the season yet. He's already got 9. It's a good sign. But
it shows how influential our attackers have been. I think,
yes,
you know, we know what he is. I think we're not just sort of deceived by his goal return. Like we sort of know what he is, but he is contributing at the same time. He did have a good game today. Some of his all-round play was decent, but yeah, two good goals. So. But I think it does really highlight that it's a good job to be a Watford striker with the support that you have behind you.
110%. David, thank you very much for your comments. As always, much appreciated. David, take care.
Thanks, Omar.
You're welcome. That was David there, and making the contributions that he often does, and really good insights about the play, the passage of play, the patterns of play, the rhythms of play. And David, thanks for your comments as always. Anybody else wants to join David on that, please hit the request button. You're more than welcome to have a go on X. I'm going to be reading out your comments on YouTube as well. A number of them have come in, as you would imagine. Brown Electron says, loser as well is back. Didn't want him at the club anymore after last season, says Brown, but he's really grafting in these games. Yeah, that's a good point there, Brown. A shout out to Loser, who was a forgotten man here last season under Valerian Ismail. But to be fair, that's not Ismail's fault. Loser had some disciplinary issues at the start of the season, as did Ben Hamer. You remember him. And bottom line is that Loser was a forgotten man because of a lot of that. And I guess, you know, things with the manager just did not go well last season. He got loaned out to Lorient, came back, with Watford, have a new manager, a former teammate of his. That doesn't hurt. It really doesn't hurt to have a former teammate be your manager. And the former teammate, that would be Clevs, giving his former teammate Loser a chance. And you see what Luz has begun to do. He's begun to stabilize things to an extent in that midfield. I think he's much more of a technical player. He gives some cover to a number of other players around him. And I thought, listen, I didn't think Sissoko was a disaster today. I thought he was quite good in areas. But what Loser gives you is a bit more stability and a bit more technical play. And I thought that he helped stabilize things for our midfield, which has been a little bit dodgy at times this season. But this has been a good performance. So, Brown, you're absolutely right. He really is grafting for the cause. And that is something that you really appreciate, just like Bio is. I mean, Bio may not score every game, but that man, whether he scores or not, he's always going to work for you both ends of the pitch. He's a two-way player in that way, in the sense that he works both ends of the pitch, whether he's scoring or not. Bio is a team player, and you see it again today. I saw him hold up the ball in the second half pretty blooming well at times, and he does make the runs. He makes a lot more runs than people even really see from him, and he got 2 good goals. I mean, his goals are not easy goals to score. And I know we criticize the man, but, we've criticized him when he's missed the easy ones, sitters. But, man, today he had a brace, could have had a hat trick. Bio, I don't know why no one should really be criticizing him now. The man's got 9 goals. He's going to be out of the club at the end of the season anyway. He's on loan from Udinese. No one should be complaining this season about his efforts in front of goal. 9 goals. He had 4, remember, against Sheffield Wednesday last month or whenever it was. It's been a very good period of time for Bio. And look, Jefferson came on late. Really didn't have a chance to dig his heels into the game. But I thought that team-wide, the performances were very good. I thought Jeremy Ngakia was good today, made very sensible decisions. Jeremy Ngakia had great ball placement when he was in defense. I liked the way he defended today. He had good anticipation. And that right back, you have to when you're defending in these games against a tricky West Brom side. I thought he got his angles correct. His composure was very good. This is Jeremy Ngakia's best game since he's come back from the injuries. Look, Ngakia has to get a shout. I think he had a decent game today. I like Vata. Vata was terrific. Barr was very good today, very effective. But we ran the ball very well today. I thought that we were very confident. We moved the ball a bit faster today than we usually do. And as I said before, to those of you who didn't hear it, I predicted before the game that Watford will win 2-1. So that's 2 games in a row where I got the score correct. But listen, I am just boasting about that. I also predicted that Watford would score in the first half of the game. And those of you who watched the YOU ORNS YouTube pre-match can attest to that. And so, look, this is a good game for Watford. This is a really important game for Watford, not just because of the opponent, but because of the circumstances. We have a rough 25 days where we've got 5 away games in 25 days. We also play Blackburn again, which will be coming up soon. We've got 2 games against Cardiff going to come up real quick because the game got postponed against Cardiff. We've now got 2 games against Cardiff in about a month or in about 3 weeks, something like that. So that's going to be, or maybe even less than that, maybe 2.5 weeks. We have got a load of games, and most of them are away from home. And because we started in the game against QPR, because we started at Plymouth, because we started against Hull City earlier on last week, this was a massive game. We were outside the top 6 to begin the game. We were already in 8th, for goodness sake, because both Middlesbrough and Blackburn won their games yesterday. I've got to tell you, those 2 teams right now are like freight trains. Blackburn Rovers cannot stop winning games, and Middlesbrough can't stop winning games. They beat Millwall yesterday. I think it was 1-0. And then you have the likes of Blackburn continuing to win their games. And we've got to beat Blackburn next time. We beat them already this season, did we? We beat Middlesbrough already. I mean, listen, we beat Middlesbrough and Blackburn, and we've beaten West Bromwich Albion. These are the kinds of teams we have to be beaten if we're going to get in the playoffs. Now, we are 7th at the start after this game. We are still outside the playoffs, but this was a very important 3 points today. Yeah, the goal difference. I mean, we could have kept a clean sheet if you think about it. But look, inevitably, you've got to give some credit to West Brom. They hadn't lost away from home since early October or late September. I mean, that's an away side that's not lost away from home before today, hadn't lost away from home since late September, early October. I mean, you get that. I mean, and I know David spoke to this earlier, and I forgot to mention this to him while he was talking to us, is that, look, West Brom is still a blooming good side. I mean, yeah, we didn't close down as well as we should have on that goal. It wasn't Backman's fault. And look, the bottom line is 2-0 is a dangerous scoreline. We all know that. And this defense has actually been very good the last 5 or 6 games. Very good. 2 goals conceded in the last 5, last 4. I mean, I'm sorry, that's really good. And 2 goals. We've conceded in only 2 halves of football in the last, I think, 6 games, 5 games. That's, you got to look at that. Paul Robinson, Robbo, has come back here and he has done a really good job working with that defense. The defensive positioning has been very good. We blocked some shots again today. I thought that Pollock was terrific. I really liked what I saw from Porteous as well. Good common sense, clearing the ball out. Don't try to be fancy. Just do the basics. The difference between the defense now and the difference between the defense, say, 2 months ago, is we are now doing the footballing fundamentals in defense. We're not trying to get too cute. We're not trying to do all a million Cruyff turns in our defensive third. We're just doing the footballing basics. And that is what you want to do. And we now have to go from back to front. And we're beginning to see the front part of the back to front operation. The back being the defense, and the spine of the defense has been solid and strong and steady. Look, you're going to listen, West Bromwich Albion. Look, let's be fair here as well to bring some more context. West Bromwich Albion should have scored at least 3 times in the first half. Let's be fair. I mean, I've got to be honest about that. So there's no shame in conceding the 1 goal. Would we love to see another clean sheet? Of course we would. But no shame in conceding a goal to West Brom. We beat them. That's what counts. We set a marker down, and now we go forward with some confidence. We have the back of the team working well and the front going forward working well. And we created a lot more goal-scoring opportunities in that first half, which is why one of the reasons I called for Vata and Barr to start together is because them guys, they can create opportunities. They can run into spaces and create goal-scoring opportunities, and they did. And Georgie was a big factor in that too, going direct up the middle. You create space, you create goal-scoring opportunities, and that's what happened today. When you had all 3 of them together, there's no accident that they scored in the first half of this game, and I knew they would, and I predicted they would be a Watford goal in the first half. We've not seen that at the Vic for a long time. When was the last time we scored in the first half of the game at the Vic this season? You have to go back a couple of months. I'm guaranteeing you, going back at least a couple of months for that. But again, we are getting both sides of the ball correct. We're getting the phase of the play correct. We're getting the thirds of the pitch right. One thing I thought we did very well today, fellow Watford supporters, and thank you very much for joining me on X and on YouTube. I'll read out some of your YouTube comments and your comments on X, and you can hit the request button on this. One thing we're doing very well, we did very well today, is we cleared our lines very well, except for the goal, right, where the ball ricocheted and we didn't get it out, and then the ball came across and it was a free open hit for the West Brom player Malumbi, who should have been sent off, by the way, Gavin Ward, as David pointed out. We've had him a couple of times this season. This time he was really bad. He was not so terrible the previous time I think we had him, but he was really off today in a lot of these respects. But one of the things we did very well today for the Watford supporters, and thanks for listening and joining. And don't forget to subscribe to the You ORNS WFC YouTube channel at You ORNS WFC, and to follow on X at You ORNS WFC, and on Instagram, where we'll be going shortly, at You ORNS WFC. What we did very well today is clear our lines. Generally speaking, with the exception of the goal, we cleared our lines very well today. We showed real composure in how we did that. We didn't snatch at the ball. We didn't kick the ball anywhere. There were times where we had to do that, actually, kick the ball into touch and get it out of there. But most often, our defensive composure going back to front was very good. There were a number of clearances where we cleared the ball to a Watford man who was open on the wing. And then that would be Georgie, that would be Vata, or that would be Barr. And we just bring the ball up. So the fluidity of our play today was very good. And that comes with 3 things: bringing in energetic players who are disruptors, like we saw with Barr and Vata, and also bringing in, obviously, with someone like Georgie, but also bringing a spirit of moving the ball faster. That's one thing that we've not seen enough of from our side this season, is moving the ball quickly. And when you move the ball quicker, you open up spaces faster. You force people to defend on their heels. And what West Brom were forced to do for a lot of this game in areas, defend in areas where they weren't comfortable doing. And that's where you got these goals from. West Brom were pushed about and pulled about across the pitch in a number of different places in this game. And Watford were clinical. That's the key, because you can pull West Brom all over the place, but if you're not clinical with your finish, it don't mean anything. We've seen a lot of times this season where Watford had 1,000,000% possession but didn't do anything with it. But today we made it count on that scoreline. Now, by the way, YouTube, your comments, please. And you have continued to comment, Matt, one of our fellow or frequent commenters on YouTube. Thank you, Matt, for this. There was me saying in the pre-match chat that we needed to use Vata and Bar on the wings during this game. That's what we did, and that's what gave us the space on the pitch to get the 2 goals. Yes, indeed, Matt, 110% there, and that's the YOU ORNS Watford fan comment of the game. That what Matt just said right there. Thank you, Matt, for that. You did say that in the pre-match chat, and of course, I did also predict, as you saw me predict, that Watford will win 2-1. And you can also attest to the fact that I've said that Watford will score in the first half. So, Matt, thank you for the comment. Yes, Vata and Bar on the wings were very effective. I hope that Clev sticks with that. I know that we have we have a load of games coming in the Christmas period now. I really hope that Clev sticks with this. We've got to get bolder out there. We've got to get bolder, got to get hungrier. You can't be too conservative in these games. One of the criticisms I think about us is that we're way too conservative a lot in these games. And at home, you cannot afford that. You've got to have some freedom. You have a good home record, outstanding run now, 16 unbeaten. You have to be willing to take a risk. And today, Clev's dealt the deck well, and he took the risk. And I think this young manager, who is already inscribing his name into some folklore because of the fact that he's got this unbeaten run going on. I don't know when was the last manager we had that had a long unbeaten run like this at home. Not even the likes of Cisco did this. Not even the likes from the start of the season, that is. And you put it back to from last season, because don't forget, he came in March. And this unbeaten run's come since he's come in here. So he's not lost a single game. 16 unbeaten. I don't think you can find any manager that I can think of. Javi Gracia didn't do this from the start. Cisco didn't do this from the start when he came in, because they lost under Cisco within, I think, 2 months maybe at home. 3 months, I think. It might have been the QPR game when we lost 2-1 under Cisco. That might have been his only home loss, maybe his only 2 home losses that we had that year. Actually, I think we lost 3 times at home under Cisco that year when he came in from December onwards. But we had lost before him when we had Ivic. I think Ivic, who was just like watching paint dry, wasn't he, Vladimir Ivic? But the bottom line is that you've got to take these chances now. Build on this. This is a big win today. West Bromwich Albion, who had a very important win earlier in the week, last week, their momentum dented a bit. We jump ahead of them in the table. That's important. On 34 points, I think it is now for us. We're just outside that top 6. We are sniffing around it now. We've got to make these games count. Very important games. Very important games. I know it sounds like a broken record. Watford in 7th now, +3 goal difference, I think it is now. We are now, on goal difference behind Middlesbrough, who are on 34 and in 6th. Don't forget, we've got a game in hand. That's an important thing. But as I always say, games in hand don't mean anything unless you win them. So that is one thing you can look at. We've got a game in hand on both West Brom and Middlesbrough, and we've got the same amount of games played as Blackburn. We are 3 points off of Blackburn, who are 5th. And right now, on the Sunday matchups, after our victory, Norwich is still leading Burnley 1-0. That's a significant scoreline, 63 minutes in. If Norwich can hold on to that, that's an important scoreline, because then Watford can only be behind Burnley by 4 points, and Burnley will have played a game in hand over a game more than us. So you've got to be starting to look at these teams now. Burnley, who we've not yet played this season to the best of my memory. We've played everybody else in that top 6 except Burnley. So if Burnley fall to defeat today against Norwich City, that's a significant result for Norwich and for Watford for that matter. But look, That's what we're looking at now. Let me read you the stats, by the way, just in case you are not apprised of Watford's stats today, for those of you who are interested in that sort of thing, and I am one of them, as I know a lot of Watford fans are. If you look at the stats today, this is what we got. Watford with the possession, 36.5% possession for Watford. It felt like we had a lot more possession than that. West Brom, 63.5% of the possession, obviously, if you do your mathematics. And shots, total shots for Watford, 14. Total shots for West Bromwich Albion, 15. And our shots, Watford shots on target, 7. That's very good. 7 out of 14 is a strong ratio. 7 shots on target, much, much better. You know, we were at the Vic in these games getting 1 shot on target. 1 shot, sometimes no shots on target the entire game at the Vic. And so today, when you have Vata, when you have Barr, when you have Georgie, that gives you shot creation, that gives you more goal-scoring chances. We fashioned so much more today in the first half, and that's why you have 14 shots. That's why you have 7 shots on target. West Brom had 6 shots on target, and total touches in the box for Watford, 31, to West Brom's 21. Daniel Batman, by the way, had a good game again, second half, really good saves. Despite the goal, not his fault, but great saves from him. 5 goalkeeping saves from Batman, 6 for the West Brom goalkeeper. Corners, 4 for us, 5 for them. We had 9 fouls. They had 7 fouls. Look, we did well with what West Brom gave us. We did a lot with what... Listen, I think you've got to be really proud of that performance. Both halves we played well. Both halves we defended well. Yes, we made the one mistake defensively, gave too much space to Malumbi to shoot that ball, didn't close down enough on it. Okay, so we'll learn from that. We'll learn from that. You're going to still make mistakes in this league. It's a, excuse me, we're human beings. We're going to all make mistakes, and that includes Watford footballers as well. So if you want to have your say on X, please hit the request button with your comments as well. I'm looking to see if anybody's left any comments so far on YouTube. Bio, you're welcome, Watford, says Mogi. Thank you, Mogi, for that. Let's see if there's anybody else on X who has got some comments that they're looking to make. Nobody else at the minute on X, but if you'd like to actually be heard on X, you're more than welcome to do that. Please have your say on X and bring on your comments. We'd love to hear from you. Hit the request button. We'd love to have you aboard on YOU ORNS post match there on X. In the meantime, going to do a couple minutes more on X, and going to also go on to Instagram shortly in the next 5 minutes. But I want to read out some more of your comments on YouTube. Watford fans, your man of the match is, I think everybody has agreed, it's Georgie. Surely it's Georgie, isn't it? There's only one man of the match today. Although the team did very well, but I'm going to read out more of your comments on YouTube at YOU ORNS WFC on the YouTube channel. Please subscribe. Would love for you to do that. Like the videos as well. And here's Mr. Briz. I'm very ashamed for not giving Georgie the credit he deserves, said Mr. Briz. I'm your biggest fan. I'll follow you around the country, says Mr. Briz. Mr. Briz there declaring his undying loyalty to Georgie, his biggest fan. Mr. Briz, thank you for the comment there. And the laughing emoji is in effect for Mr. Briz. Mr. Briz, thank you for the comment there. Brown Electrons. Brown says this, Omar, I need to bring you to my bookies for predictions like that. Yeah. Thanks there, Brown. I appreciate that. Yeah, you know, listen, I will big up myself again here. I've been pretty darn good on these predictions when I've made them. And there have been some games where I've not made predictions and Watford have lost. So I'll keep not making predictions and hopefully Watford... well, actually, I'll keep making predictions so Watford don't lose these games. I don't think... I mean, I've been pretty spot on in getting the score right at least 3 or 4 times as well this season on a load of these games. I got the whole game correct with the score. I got this game correct with the score. I think I got the Sunderland game correct with the score, and we beat them 2-1 in that game way back in September. I've been pretty right on the money or just a goal off or so in these games. So thanks for that, Brown. I did say in the first half Watford would score as well. So yeah, maybe you might have to get me involved there with your bookie picks, whether you're going to William Hill or wherever you're going. to make them picks because yeah, I've been right on the money this season. If I was in England right now, if I was in the UK right now, I'd be definitely making bets based on my predictions this season. But anyway, enough of that. Let me move on to more important things now. Matt has said this, and thanks, Brown, for the comment. Appreciate it very much. Matt says, cleverly yet again made the right subs at the right time. I don't know any of our last 3 or 4 managers that would get the subs right like Cleverly is. Yeah, that's a good shout there, Matt. Cleverly's been spot on all season long with the subs, except maybe one game, maybe the Luton game. Who are they? Maybe, except for that game, maybe is the only game I can think of the top of my head right now, Matt, where he didn't. But everything else has been absolute gravy. Clevs knows this team well. Remember, as you know, Matt, Clevs played with half of these lads just a couple of seasons ago. Remember, Loser was on that team when he played. A couple of other lads, Sierralta was on that team when he played. Backman was on that team when he played. There may have been 1 or 2 others that I'm just Sissoko, maybe. Yeah, Sissoko was on a team when he played in the Premier League, certainly. So look, there's at least 4 or 5 players on this present team that Tom Cleverley was teammates with. So I think one of the things too is that I think that's a part of it, not to diminish the managerial focus that Clevs has, but the other part of this too is that these players are playing their socks off for Tom Cleverley. They respect him because he's been around the building more than for a little while. He's been there for a minute, if you will, and the players respect Clevs. They respect him, and he's a players manager. He's a very intense preparer. He knows he demands everything from his players, and the players respect him. And if you don't respect your manager, I'm sorry, you're not going to get anything. And if you're not buying into what the manager's putting forth, don't matter. The players are going to lay down like dogs for you, and they're not going to play. They're going to be on the beach. You can probably count 3 games this season, even less than that, where Watford have been on the beach. Even the game against Swansea, where they just didn't bring in real effort, I wouldn't say they were sleepwalking the game. Preston, perhaps I would say they were. But the game against Swansea, even that game, they were poor. But as I've always talked about here, there's a big difference between effort and also performance. Effort and performance. You can have a bad performance in a game and still win a game. You cannot have bad effort and still win a game. I'm sorry. I don't care who you are. I don't care what team you're on. You could be Man City and look at what they're doing lately, right? And I know they've got a match today against United, but you can be, I don't care who you are. If you have a bad effort in a game, you're going to lose that game more often than not. If you have a bad performance, you can still get away with getting a point or even getting a win. So there's a big difference between performance and effort. Today, you got a good performance out of Watford, and that got you 3 points. We had a good performance at Plymouth, but we didn't get all 3 points, But if we had a bad effort at Plymouth, right, we would have lost the game. Same thing with Hull. And we didn't have a great game against Hull, but we didn't break them down the way we should have. But look, again, that game is in the rearview mirror, and this one really is in the rearview mirror as well. Matt says this. Omar, we play Burnley on the 21st of December away from home, and that will be our first game of the season against them. Thanks very much, Matt, for that. That's literally this coming Saturday then. Whoa, at Burnley. Whoa, at the place where we should have won a couple of seasons ago. Remember that game? 96th minute, 1-0, Burnley 0, Watford 1. And you know what happened at Turf Moor a couple of seconds later? I'm not going to remind you because you know very well what happened. We've played decently at Turf Moor. We've had a win at Turf Moor in the last 4 or 5 seasons. Javi Gracia when we won there. We had the game, I'm not going to mention the manager because you know his initials are RH. When we had a 0-0 there, got a clean sheet, and it was a horrible Saturday night there. I don't know if you went up to Turf Moor that time. I think it was in 2022. It would have been in 2022, back in February of that year. The weather, it was the worst. I mean, the rain, Ben Foster was in goal for us. The rain was coming down and the wind was blowing the ball all over Lancashire, basically. And we got a 0-0 there. And of course, we got Well, I know I'm not going to talk about the other game against Burnley, but we did beat Burnley at home as well. But look, this is an away game. That's a massive game now against Burnley, and we have to continue to perform well against these teams above us. That's what we've got to do. That's the key. I know that I have said often, playing these games against these bottom echelon sides, we've got to win them, and you do. But what also is a massive help is if you can take points off of the teams who are fighting for the playoffs like you are. That's direct. And you can hurt them. You can hurt them. If you can hurt this Burnley side, I think Burnley have stuttered a bit now. They've been stumbling and bumbling a bit here now, Burnley. If we can let's be honest, if we can get something off of them, and Burnley, by the way, as I say that, I've obviously jinxed Burnley because Burnley now, I've jinxed them favorably because now Burnley have now scored twice against Norwich. So there we go. Right on cue. I said, Burnley have been stuttering. And then I look at the score line now. Norwich 1, Burnley 2 in the 78th minute. So what do I know? Maybe I should keep my predictions to myself and keep... But anyway, Burnley have, generally speaking, outside of this game, Burnley have been stuttering a bit here lately. We've got to get them. We've got to catch them next week at Turf Moor. Thank you, Matt, for that. Brown Electron says the streets won't forget Mario Gaspar. Yes, Mario Gaspar, who I remember was not the choice of our manager. Was it Rob Edwards or was it Valerian Ishmael? Who I don't remember whose choice that was, whose choice it wasn't. But the streets won't forget Mario Gaspar. Good job there, Brown. I want to thank everybody on X, and I've gone way beyond the 5 extra minutes I said that I would do. But for those of you on X, I want to thank you very much indeed. For those of you listening live, for those of you who have contributed, those made comments, all of the above. We're going to go off to Instagram land. We're going to stay on YouTube for another 15 minutes or so. I promise we will get to more of your comments if you make them on YouTube, maybe 15 to 20 minutes. I don't know. Why not? But we'll go over to Instagram land next at YOU ORNS WFC. I do want to thank each and every one of you Watford supporters joining us here on YOU ORNS WFC on both YouTube and on X. We're going to leave X in a few moments' time. I do want to thank you all again on X for your contributions, David, for your comments as well, as course, as always, and for those of you who have made some contributions or who've just if you just listened, that's good enough as well. The YOU ORNS WFC podcast episode will be coming up a bit later on tonight. That definitely will be coming, or we'll definitely be doing a podcast there, and maybe a 10-minute take on YouTube as well at YOU ORNS WFC. Please subscribe there. The podcast, of course, is on Spotify and on Apple. The final score today: Watford 2, West Bromwich Albion 1. Really important win. A first half goal for Watford for the first time at the Vic for a long time. Bio scored it. It was Bio's brace that got Watford this one, but it was the ingenuity as well of Rocco Vata, the really good runs of Quadro Bar, and the heroics of Mr. Georgie Chakatazda, who carried this team on his back in the second half of this contest, and some good defending and a great couple of saves in the second half from none other than Mr. Daniel Batman, who now I think is growing from strength to strength, is getting a lot more confidence in that goal. And yes, there's still the mistakes that every player will make, but Batman certainly now, I think, has earned the right to start these games now. I never thought I'd be saying that after earlier in the season, but he certainly has done that now. His play has been a lot better. His goalkeeping acumen, a lot better. He's made some very good choices between the sticks in the last few games. And Watford have been going very well indeed. In 7th, 34 points, and we will continue on to next week against Burnley. I should say this week against Burnley because it's this Saturday at Turf Moor on the 21st, 4 days before Christmas. I want to thank you again on X. We'll continue on YouTube. It's Instagram land next. Again, thank you very much indeed for listening. I'm Omar on X. And until next Saturday against Burnley, YOU ORNS. Thank you. Take care and have a great rest of your Watford week on X. Hello again, everyone on YouTube. We're going to do a bit of a reset here now because, of course, it is going to be time to join those of you on Instagram land. I want to thank you all for your comments on YouTube. Keep them coming if you would like to. I want to thank you all for your comments, fellow Watford supporters. Absolutely great to have you here in the building today. And look, I am really thrilled about this win. Very pleased about Watford getting the job done today, because this was a very important game. After the stuttering and stammering and stammering and I'm not insulting people who stammer, but what I'm saying is after our inability to get the job done, let me just put it that way. I think that's just much more sensible. We just had not done the things that you really would want us to do in these games enough. And I'm just so thrilled that we got this win today. It was so very important. So YouTubers, continue to watch us here. And now it's going to be Instagram land. We will join our Instagrammers next, who will come in to us on live and direct. Thank you very much indeed, fellow Watford supporters on Instagram. You ORNS Extra on Instagram Live is on the air here from San Francisco, California. Live, Omar here. Thank you very much indeed for joining me, fellow Watford supporters, after Watford 2, West Bromwich Albion 1. Delightful to have you here. Lewis Honeysett, who is straight in from the game at the Vic. Lewis, you've got to give us a wave, mate. Give us a wave. You did wave at us on Instagram. Lewis, thank you. I know you were at the Vic today. You want to talk about that one, Lewis? You can come on video with us, or you can just keep doing your comments wherever you might be now. I'm sure you're probably out the ground by now. The game's been over for almost an hour. But Lewis, yours. Well done, Lewis. Good job. We got the W today, and I'm glad you got to see it wherever you were seeing it from at the Vic. And fellow YouTubers as well, thank you very much for continuing to watch and also comment. Watford 2, West Bromwich Albion 1. Very good game to watch. This was one of the more entertaining games that Watford have played this season. It was end-to-end stuff throughout the entire 97 minutes, or was it 99? I mean, the referee today, Gavin Ward, I mean, he wanted to play 100 minutes. I mean, the way he was going. I mean, how many times? I mean, I know LaRusi was on the ground, and I know that Backman was on the ground, and I know that Barr was on the ground, and Bio was on the ground. But my goodness, how many minutes you can add, ref? It was already 6 as it was. But, Gavin Ward, again, he is, he's not the greatest referee. I mean, sometimes he's not been terrible for us, but he was really, some of them decisions by the way, West Brom should have had man sent off. Let's be honest. And he only booked loser, but didn't book the goal scorer, Malumbi, for what Malumbi made a whole mess of that. How are you going to only book one of them two players in a collision like that? Huh? How are you going to only book one of them? Well, what's going on with that? This really doesn't make any sense, does it? But that's Gavin Ward, don't make any sense. I think we had him, didn't we have him against Plymouth? I think he was the referee for Plymouth. Wasn't he the referee for Plymouth in that game where we drew 2-2? Well, God, I don't know. Anyway, Lewis says, well, it was a very nervous end to the final 17 left. Yeah, it was a nervous end. But I thought we did it pretty well today. At the end of the day, Lewis, I thought that we managed to get it done. Yeah, you can fault the goal. The issue for me on the goal was not Daniel Batman, it was the defending. We just didn't close that down well enough. And Malumbi had a lot of space to shoot that ball off the rebound, and we didn't clear our lines there. So I'm sure that will be something on the film session that Clevs will point to them, and how they did not aggressively close down after that shot. They didn't close down after the ricochet. They didn't close down Malumbi. He was completely unsighted, and he was running and running. And I'm like, where is the close down? And I get that you can't have everyone close that down, because it provides an opportunity for a ball to be passed out to the wing, and then you're vulnerable down your flank, and then you're really in trouble. So I understand that, but my goodness me, we have to close that down better. That's my only complaint, But again, great game to watch. If you were at the Vic, and I know you were, Lewis, you saw a terrific game. Really good game, a very exciting tempo. And for once, this is not something I've not mentioned on YouTube either yet today. Watford's tempo dictated this thing, even though Watford only had 36% of the possession, if you can believe that. Watford's tempo dictated this game. The game was played fast throughout the vast majority of the game was fast. Why? Watford's ball movement was better. Why? Watford moved the ball quicker. Why? Watford brought on Barr and Vata on the wings, and that gave us a lot more speed, gave us a lot more fluidity, it gave us a lot more movement, and it opened up the spaces. So that means you're going to, by definition, have an end-to-end contest. I mean, it was a terrific game to watch, and it had everything, except thank no red cards for us, although West Brom should have had a red card in that game. Niall Gill, where are you? Niall Gill, hello to you on You ORNS Extra on Instagram. Thank you very much indeed. It was bouncing, says Lewis. Yeah, the Vic, you could hear it from here. They were really into it. I don't know if you were in the rookery, Lewis, but you could sense that from here. The atmosphere was very good when Watford were lagging a little bit in the second part of that second half. You heard the crowd really try to pick the lads up, and it worked. And they did do well to hold on and do the job. Larousse, I thought, was an important substitution because he came in and really, I think, helped eventually stem that West Brom threat, hold up the ball a bit better, bring the ball up the pitch a little more. And I thought that was really important for us today. Unreal, says Lewis. Yeah, because Lewis was there. Lewis, thank you for that. I thought that was so important. Larousse coming in, bringing in Sierralta was important as well to give a bit more height to the middle of the three in the game. Morris, I thought, didn't do badly. I thought he did a lot of things right today, Morris. But again, look, the bottom line is he's undersized for me in a back three. But he does the job. He's not always great, Morris, but I can't have any fault for any of these players today. I thought Sissoko was good. He had some ups and downs in the game, but I thought that Sissoko made some important contributions. On X, we had a bit of disagreement on that on Sissoko, but that's okay. It's nothing harmful. It's just we had differences of opinion on Sissoko. But I thought Sissoko was pretty decent today. He definitely was not at his very best, but there were moments where I thought he was very important. Good headers, good interceptions. He brought the ball up the pitch a number of times really well, put the ball into good areas really well. Cutbacks were very good from Sissoko, so I thought he had a good game, quite frankly. Lewis says, first time in the rookery. Oh, good for you. And it was unreal. Have lost my voice, so I can't join you, but I'll join against Burnley next week. Thank you, Lewis. Thanks for coming aboard at all. And then savor that Watford win, Lewis. Good job by you. I am Andy Goddard joins us. Hello, Andy. Oh, I know. You've got to be buzzing about Clevs because Andy, those of you on Instagram know that Andy absolutely adores Tom Cleverley, and he will absolutely send out a Christmas card. He'll send out 3 Christmas cards to Clevs. I don't know if you, to be fair, I shouldn't say that you will because I don't know what your religious persuasion is. But listen, I'll definitely send a Christmas card to him. And I'm a Christian, and I will send a Christmas card to him. But you can send Christmas cards regardless, of course, of your religious denomination. Hey, Omar, mate, says Andy. Andy, I know you're having you're in dreamland, Andy. I know you are, mate. There he goes. Tom Cleverley enthusiast on Instagram. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, join us on Instagram. Then Tom, Andy got it. I hope I'm sure you've met Tom Cleverley, Andy. I've been fortunate enough to meet him in person, have a quick conversation with him a number of years ago at a Watford Awards dinner. And Tom Cleverley is a really decent person, really unassuming, kind, really salt of the earth kind of person. And but don't let that fool you. He's a warrior. And he's also somebody who, when it comes to managing, he is very demanding, which it really should be as a manager. You should. I don't care what sport you're managing and who you're managing. You need to be demanding to get the best out of your players. I mean, that's elementary, my dear Watson, isn't it? So George has joined us as well. Hello, George, to you. I got Bio's shirt. Did you, George? Are you serious? Or are you having me on? Are you pulling our leg, George? Or did you actually get his shirt? And if you did get his shirt, come on video with us and show it to us, mate. Come on. We'll do a video with you, George, and show us the shirt. Come on, George. No, I mean, listen, I'm not. I would love to. That would be terrific if you could, George. Thank you. Andy Goddard says Canada Post is on strike. Ha ha ha. Yeah, I bet it is. And I know that they're still on strike. And I don't know if you work with the Canada Post or not, but you have every right to strike today, mate, if you wanted to. I shouldn't say that because that strike is pretty sick. But listen, workers should get more pay. So listen, you won't see me disagree with that. And by the way, Bio should be getting. And does anyone want? Here's another thing I want to say, by the way, because I'm going to start reading out all your comments on both YouTube and Instagram. So YouTubers, I've not neglected you. I'm coming to you shortly, I promise. Anyone want to have a go at this? Should Bio come back next season? I know he's on loan here now with Udinese. 9 goals this season, and we're not quite at the halfway point of the season. 9 goals already. He scored 2 more today. It's the second or third game this season where he scored at least 2 goals. I think. Right? It's at least twice this season where he scored at least 2 in a game. 9 goals in the season to lead all scorers. Should we be bringing Bio back here? Should Udinese loan him back to us and give him us next season? I know he didn't want to be here at the end of last season. He wanted out. But the man looks like he wants in. He scored 9 goals, mate. Do you want Bio here next season? See, that's another thing, right? Bio, all the criticism that some of us have given him, and I'm a big fan of his, but I've given him criticism here too. You don't want him back here next season? 9 goals already? Rajovic, I think, had 9 goals all of last season, or 10 all of last. And by the way, Tom Cleverley made a comment. I'm going to read out your comments, I promise you. Tom Cleverley made a comment in the Watford Observer last day or two, where he said, and I wish I had the quote with me off the top of my head, but he said something to the effect of, we don't need to have a striker who's 6'4" and good in the air. We can do this in other ways. There are other ways to do this. And he was alluding to having Vata in there and having other players in there. To me, that's a veiled swipe. That ain't even veiled swipe at freaking Rajovic, mate. We can do this in other ways. There are other ways to do this. And this is why I said to you at the beginning of the season, all that talk about, well, Cleverley's going to bring Rajovic back. It's like Tom Cleverley has to say what he says about Rajovic at the beginning of the season when Rajovic went on loan, season-long loan for Brøndby, and Cleverley said, "Well, you know, we'll bring him back, and we have plans for him." Well, he's not going to come out publicly in August and say we're going to get rid of him, and I just don't think he's going to ever play for us again. As much as I'd love to have Rajovic here to see what he can bring you, no one's talking about Rajovic now except me. All right, now let me read your comments out. Jack from Down Under. Well done, Jack. Sending no cards back home this year. Andy Goddard, I hear you. It's a rough situation there. You can't send back any if the post is on strike. Yeah, difficult to do that. Unless you do e-cards. Can you do an e-card? I think you can. But yeah, it's not the same, is it, Andy? Not the same. Now I know. Will Robinson, thank you. Danger. There is no danger today for Watford, Will Robinson. And thank you for joining us. Jack Boddington, good day. Correct predictions for us today. Yes, I cannot bask in this glory alone today because Jack Boddington on Instagram also predicted 2-1 in the You ORNS pre-match on Instagram. He did, and I did too. So both of us were correct on that. And I will say, again, as you remember, Jack, I also predicted in the You ORNS pre-match on Instagram that Watford would score in the first half. And you remember that too. So there we go. As I continue to boast about my predictions today, razor sharp today. I got 2 of them correct out of 2, and I also got the Hull City game correct as well. So if anybody wants to bring me to the bookies, yeah, you might want to share some of them winnings with me too. All right, let's get back to Watford now. Watford, Joe Larkins joined us. Yours couldn't make the game today, but I saw the brilliant goals from Bio. If Bio continues his goal scoring form, then yes, keep him. Thank you, Joe. That's 1 vote. That's 2 votes because my vote would be to bring him back as well. 2 votes for Bio after we've seen him today. I'm sorry, the man's in a rich vein of form now. And I want to know who else wants Bio in here. I'll read out your comments on YouTube on that because I know there's been at least one comment that I've just seen that I'm going to read out in a minute that addresses that. The man's scoring goals. I would want Udinese to bring him, loan him back to us. You know, I mean, the man's scoring, whether he wanted to be here or not at the end of last season, because Tom Cleverley has publicly said he's wanted it. He begged him to stay. and he wanted to go. It's Bio we're talking about. Now the man's scoring goals for fun. And I'm not trying to be funny. The man scored a brace today. He scored 4 against Sheffield Wednesday last month. I mean, really, honestly, I really, really think I'm dead serious about this. The man's got 9 goals this season. I don't know how you. I don't know how many more goals he's going to score this season. If he gets at least 15 to 20 goals, I don't see how you can not bring him back here. Really, if he gets at least 15 to 20 in the championship, that's a good return. Don't forget, he ain't started some of these games. Honestly, he's really the one guy that's putting the ball in consistently. Jefferson has not been the answer yet. Again, I still think it's been a small sample size. I don't see how you get rid of I mean, if Udinese loans him back to us, and again, Gino owns both these clubs. Can anybody be unhappy to see Bio come back here if he continues to do what he's been doing? We're not at the halfway point of the season yet. I don't know what you think about that for the Watford supporters, but I'm going to read out your comments because I know some of you have weighed in on this. Lewis says, to be honest, I would like to see him, but I don't think he will stay. That I think is what Lewis is saying. Bio's no worse than many of our other strikers we've had. Our expectations are too high, says Andy Goddard. Your predictions have been incredible this season, says Jack Boddington. Thank you, Jack. Thank you for acknowledging that. I mean, really, I've been actually, quite frankly, again, here I go again boasting. I have been actually quite impressed by the fact that I've been very on target with nearly all these games. I predicted Millwall 2, Watford 2. That ended up 3-2 Watford. I can go through all the games I've predicted. I've not predicted every single one of them because I didn't make a prediction for the Luton game or the Norwich game, and we lost both. So the lesson is, Omar, make predictions every game because that's the lesson. But I've been spot on in a lot of these games. I had the exact score right for Watford versus Sunderland, which was 2-1. I said Watford 2, Middlesbrough 1. It was Watford 2, Middlesbrough 0. I've been very, very close. The Hull 1, Watford 1. I got that correct. Got this one correct. 2-1 Watford. I predicted the first half of the goal we score. I mean, Nostradamus has come alive here. Nostradamus has come alive here in San Francisco, California. But anyway, really, I mean, thank you for that, Jack. At the start of the season, I was Bio out, but I can't lie. This man has changed my mind. Thank you, Jack. That is a vote for Bio as well. That's 3 votes for Bio to come back. And he says Bio's getting better service this year for sure. That's a factor. He still has a calamity in him in front of goal, but so does Backman, and he still trusts us between the sticks. He is. That's good point there, Andy. No sports betting in California, right? That's correct. California does not have any sports betting. Nevada, which is the state next door to us, does. So maybe if I took a drive to Las Vegas. Of course, the NBA has been playing in Las Vegas this weekend. Of course, as those of you who are NBA fans can attest, then I would be making some bets on this game. I'd have made a load of bets with Watford. I tell you, this season, because my goodness me, my predictions have been absolutely on the money for the vast majority of these games. So anyway, thank you, Jack, and thank you, Andy, for your comments. Going to have to get minions putting in your bets in other states. Yeah, I know, Andy, absolutely will. Now, YouTubers, I am going to read your comments, not going to. By the way, I do agree with that. OKC winning the NBA Cup. Jack, I think you're spot on that. That's a prediction that you can absolutely make and be very right with. Although Milwaukee are not going to be easy to deal with. They've got some very good height, good defense, good defending. They've got some good shot blockers. Giannis is he's absolute ridiculous. Look, forgive me for talking NBA for a second, but Giannis is ridiculous, okay? If Chris Middleton can play, Jack, that big 3 of Milwaukee, Chris Middleton, Damian Lillard, Dame Lillard, and Giannis, if all 3 of them are playing that game on Tuesday night for the Cup final, NBA Cup final, that's going to be a closer game than people might think. But I've got to say, that is a really good game coming up on Tuesday night for the NBA Cup final. That is going to be a very good game. OKC They do have some really good. The only thing at OKC, even though their defense is good, I think they lack a bit of height in their defense. Anyway, that's that. I'm going to go back to the NBA because Andy's made some comments on it, but I'm going to get back to Watford FC here. I like the aggressiveness from Loser, says Brown. Thank you for that. I know these comments that I'm reading are made about 20 minutes ago, and I apologize for what YouTubers. Please like the YouTube videos here at You ORNS WFC, and please subscribe to the You ORNS WFC YouTube channel. Matt says, Omar, what did you think about Morris? I think it took him a bit of time to get into the game, and he was getting beaten a little bit too much. He seemed to be out of position some of the times. There were instances of that with Morris on that left side in the left back position, left wing back. But I thought that he defended pretty well. He did fall down. Remember that I know that what you're talking about in the first half when he was set flat on his back and West Brom were able to get past him. But thankfully, there was no finish. You know, West Brom, with some better finishing, could have scored 3 in that first half, should have scored 3. There was a moment in front of goal there, in front of the rookery, where there was a shot on literally 3 or 4 yards, 5 yards out in front of Backman, but the West Brom player couldn't get the ball out from under his feet. He was, he scuffed it. He didn't have his foot planted correctly in shaping to shoot the ball. And had his foot been planted correctly, that would have been 1-1 right there in the first half. So Watford got out of dodge with that. They dodged a few bullets, if you will, for lack of a better term. They dodged it. They dodged a few custard pies and banana peels. Let me put that better than dodging bullets, although we'd rather dodge bullets than the alternative. But let's really talk more about the custard pies and all the rest, and the eggnog that we dodged, since it is almost Christmas. But who dodges eggnog, by the way? I don't know who does. But anyway, the point being is that Watford got very fortunate. But again, when you're going well, as Watford have lately, going very well, I think Swansea was the last time we lost. When you're going well, and again, we were unbeaten in 7, I think now, something like that. And 8 of our last 9. When you're going well, let me tell you, you get breaks, and that West Brom player, I forget who it was, Grant, whoever it was, he should have scored easy. He's right in front of Backman. The goal's gaping in front of him. If he absolutely gets his foot set, that's 1-1 right there. And it's a different game going into halftime. But Watford got to halftime without conceding. That was a very important thing as well. Watford now have done very well in these first halves now of not conceding. Remember earlier in the season when we were always conceding in the first 5 or 10 minutes of a game? Paul Robinson has had a lot to do with that, as have others, to give Watford's defensive positioning a lot better looks. But let me get back to these games here, right? These comments on YouTube. Thank you for yours as well. But Morris, I thought Matt did decently considering everything. Let me put it that way. But I hear you. Thanks for your comment as always, Matt. Brown, another regular contributor on YouTube, says the following. Tom was the man that assisted Lloydinho as well, so he's already a club legend. Yes, he did. That's the QPR game, wasn't it, Brown? When he scored the goal, then he went down the wrong end, or he celebrated. Remember that? He started running toward the wrong end to celebrate it. And I think it was, I forget who it was, Deeney or somebody pointed him. No, the rookery. You scored in front of the rookery. Celebrate with them, mate. Lloydinho, he ran the wrong way. Brown, thanks for remembering that, because I remember that game and he ran the wrong way. And he told anyway, that was just hilarious. Brown, thanks for that, mate. Good question, Omar. Depends on who we bring in. This is the Brown responding to my question earlier. And thanks, Lewis Watkins, for coming in. I'm going to read in all your comments. Thank you, Elliot. Lewis, hello. Lewis Watkins and Elliot Birdie, hello to you both. I'm going to be reading your comments on Instagram shortly. But what you said, Brown, there, was responding to what I said a little earlier. And I know you made the comment earlier about, do you want Bio back next season? Based on what you've seen here, how could you not, right? And here's what Brown has to say about it. Good question, Omar. Depends on who we bring in. I'd still rather have Bio than Rajovic. So would I. I mean, I know that people have been calling for Rajovic. I was wondering about Rajovic a bit earlier in the season because, we haven't been getting any good goal scoring. But look, Bio has been hitting the target regularly. he's hitting the target more regularly than Rajovic was. I mean, think about it. And I do agree with you, Andy. The service counts. It makes a big difference. I can't lie. I agree with you there. But Bio, how can you not bring him back? I mean, I know it's the season's not half over yet, but blimey, 9 goals already. 2 today, had 4 against Wednesday a month ago. Don't see how you can't bring him back. I know Udinese, look, again, the parent club is his parent club. And look, we both know Gino owns both clubs. Bring him back. I mean, if put it this way, if this man scores 15 or more goals, you definitely have to bring him back. Even if he doesn't score 15, frankly. The man can score in bunches. Where's our goal scoring? If it ain't for Bio, where's our regular goal scorer on this side? Yeah, I'm just saying. And yeah, Brown, I agree. I'd rather have him than Rajovic. The guy and the one thing that he does that Rajovic don't do is he works both ends of the pitch. He will put in a shift both ends of the pitch for you, and he will look for you. He is so unselfish, Bio. He is. Now, of course, we know the knock on him is he's not scoring some of the easier goals. Blimey, though. I mean, I'd much rather have him than Rajovic, honestly. And I'm a big fan of Bio anyway, so that's my bias. But just even objectively, I would much rather have him than Rajovic in here. I mean, let's be fair. I mean, you got to, even for those of you who don't like Bio, who've been slating him ever since he got here, let's be fair. The man's he's done a job this season. For someone that's actually on loan that didn't want to be here last season, can't complain. If Bio carries on playing like this to the end of the season, says Matt, I'd happily take him for another loan season. But I would just be worried if he went back to his old ways. Yeah, that's fair comment, Matt. I can see that. Obviously, is this a flash in the pan, or is it not? I don't know that it is, but I understand what you mean. You would hate to have him back in next season and then he just doesn't score at all for weeks and weeks and months. But right now, in the form he's on, God, dear, he's not been this good since he's got it. I mean, this is his best season by far at Watford, right? He's been here, 2.5 seasons or a season plus? This is really good. I mean, maybe you think I'm going overboard with this? I don't think so. Am I going overboard with this, Instagrammers? With Bio, he's having a good run. Come on. Anyway, Brown says, first game, I feel like the opposition dealt with Bar pretty well. Good time, LOL. Yeah, Brown, they did. Bar had a decent game today, though. I thought it was good, very good. But yeah, his runs were limited. They did try to neutralize that a lot. But I thought Bar still had a very good game. And yes, he was not as prominent second half, and then he was taken off, as was Vata as well. Vata had a very good game. Vata was outstanding. But Georgie, easy, the YOU ORNS man of the match. I'm going to read out all your comments now on Instagram. No. Oh, it says on Instagram. Andy says, I hope we're all Charlotte Hornets fans here. Oh, no. New York Knicks here, I can say. No, but not Charlotte Hornets. Watford Hornets is one thing. Charlotte Hornets is a completely different story. No, Chet Holmgren is going to kill us, says Jack Boddington from down under. Chet Holmgren, of course, for those of you who don't know, is an NBA player who plays with the OKC Thunder. But, OKC Thunder will not have Chet Holmgren on Tuesday because he's been out for a while, unless something has developed that I'm not aware of, Jack. Chet Holmgren is not going to be anywhere near playing the game. He'll be on the sideline like he was last night, watching his team win the game. I think that's going to be an excellent NBA Cup game final for that. That's going to be a really good one. Oh boy, I don't know. I think OKC are going to find a way through, but that's not going to be easy. That is not going to be easy. Anyway, Jack Boddington, because I talked about custard pies earlier. I wouldn't be dodging custard pies, mate. You personally wouldn't be. Is that what you're saying then, Jack? Or you mean you generally? But anyway. Well, maybe at Christmas time or holiday season time, you wouldn't be dodging them. I try not to eat too many of them, mate. I try to stay away from all that stuff. That's just like... Thanks there, Jack. I appreciate it. Lewis, hello. Elliot, hello. Any talk on Georgie? I have talked about Georgie extensively. A number of us have on X, on YouTube, and on Instagram as well. Any talk on Georgie? He's had a great game and been very good at driving things forward with incredible skill and paces. Andy got it on Instagram. Think he needs to improve decision making between the shot pass, though. Andy, I can tell you that before you came on, and also on X and on YouTube, I had named Georgie the YOU ORNS Watford FC man of the match. I think everybody here before you'd come on were in vociferous agreement that by far Georgie was the man of the match. So we've had a lot of talk about Georgie. Georgie carried this team on his back in the second half. Yes, the decision making. Yep, there's an issue with that still with some of these things, but I think 99% of the time today, his decision making was really, really good. I didn't like the short corners, although I think we got the second goal from a short corner, so maybe I shouldn't complain about that. But Andy, I agree with what you're saying. His pace and skill driving through those defenses. You know, how many times has he got a yellow card? Has the opposition got a yellow card by just trying to pull his shirt? That happened again today. Dan Atkins has joined us. I was there when Dolly scored. Oh, nice there, Andy. Thank you. Yes, Danny boy. Dan Atkins, get in there, Dan. All right, then. 2-1 winners. That's what I'm talking about today. Well done, Dan. Yes. Excellent stuff, Dan Atkins. Thank you. Has it been addressed that Delafeo made a recent comment, says Andy Goddard, on Instagram, on social media, alluding to the fact that he would come back. Imagine him, Georgie, Bar, all supplying by. Oh, I know. Oh, God. Well, I don't know. I've not seen that. If you've seen that, Andy, and if anyone else has seen that about Gerard Delafeo making a comment on social media, alluding to possibility of coming back to the Vic, please let us know. Now, Andy has obviously seen it. I have not seen this, so I can't really talk about it, but I guess I could talk about it. It would be nice to have him back. His last game for Watford, that's a good quiz question. I perhaps should do this quiz right now, but I'm going to be reading out more comments. But that would be great, wouldn't it, to see him back here? Jack Bottom says, the things I'd do to see Gerard Delafeo back in the Watford shirt. Oh, dear. Do you really want to say those on the air, Jack? Be careful. I'm just see. Just go to Watford Really? Did you? No, come on. Just go to Watford Charlotte tattoo a week back. Andy Goddard, the Joker in the pack today, as he has been for quite some time. Thank you, Andy, for that as well. I'll be reading out more of your comments on Instagram coming up, but we're still on with the Instagram and YouTube, and thank you so much for that. We'll go to the bottom of the hour, and we'll do a quiz as well, actually. But here's what I want to get to, is this. Thoughts on, this is Brown Electrons on YouTube. Brown says, thoughts on the rumors of João Pedro going to United? Which United? I guess that's Man United. It has to be Man United, doesn't it? I know there's a Newcastle United and the West Ham United. But yeah, when you say United around here, it's Man U. So if that's a rumor, and of course rumors are just that until, of course, they actually happen and become real, that would be a staggering upgrade for Man United and a staggering upgrade for João Pedro. And I don't think that's too big a leap for him. He's gone from Watford to Brighton. Right, Brighton are a decent side in the top 7 or 8 in the league. He's done very well at Brighton. He's really plied his trade there well. He's going to always have a few more eyeballs on him in the Premier League. And obviously, Man United still needs some spark, despite having Ruben Amorim there as the manager. And of course, they're playing against City now. Look, the bottom line is I really would like to see that move happen. For just on a personal level for João Pedro, I'd be very pleased for him. And I don't think that job is beneath him. Man United is still the biggest club in Europe, except for Real Madrid. I know people will scoff at me for saying that, but Man United still, even though they are playing like you-know-what, like a dog's dinner and worse, they're still the biggest. They're still, along with Real Madrid, they're the 2 biggest clubs in Europe still. Look at the tradition of Man United and all their European exploits. they and Real Madrid. Real Madrid is number one, United two. In terms of brand, in terms of size, in terms of history, they're still the two biggest clubs in Europe, mate. Bigger than Man City. United's history is much more storied than City's. City right now, I know this is a big insult to say, there's a flash in the pan at the minute. They've had all this glory under one manager, maybe two, or three if you talk to the Premier Leagues with what's his name? Manuel Pellegrini, and of course Mancini, Roberto Mancini before him. But the bottom line here is that United are a bigger club in Europe than City ever have been. Let's be honest. And Real Madrid rule the roost. And we know that. So there we go. But the bottom line is, Brown, to respond to your comment, if that rumor comes true, I'd be very pleased for João Pedro. And it's a good fit because I think that what Man United need is some fearlessness. They need a bit more positivity in front of goal. And João Pedro gives them creativity as well, which I think they lack. I know Bruno Fernandes is a creator, but he's not an attack-minded. I mean, he can attack, but João Pedro is that kind of number 9/number 10 player, isn't he? That I think Man United really missed since Wayne Rooney's gone out the building. There's not been too many of them who can do that as well. And I think that João Pedro can be a 9, he can be a 10. I like him. Brown, that's a good fit. It's a good fit for both parties there. I think João Pedro's career just grows, obviously, there. And I think Man United have benefited tremendously if they get him. If rumors are rumors until they're true. Thank you for that, Brown. Matt says, gotta love that we was beating the first man for a change from the corners. Loser was putting in some good corners in the box. Yeah, Loser's got to be the new set piece taker because Ince didn't play today. Loser has got to be the new set piece taker. I know Georgie he did some corners, but they were short ones. Loser put some right in the danger zone. Ooh, yep, that's the man right now. Watford Gold has joined us as well. Thank you, Watford Gold. Good to have you aboard. I've seen the near on Instagram now. I've seen the De La Feo comment. It went by the lines of, I should be back there replying to a Watford fan post. Okay, well, then that's different. I'm not going to get too high on that. That's the thing, Jack. That's why I didn't see it, so I don't see the context of it. So I really don't want to comment too much on that. Would it be nice to have De La Feo here? Of course. But if you put it in the context like that, Jack, thank you for doing so. Different story in it than if he's interviewed by some outlet like The Athletic, like Watford Observer, like whomever, or Sky or somebody, and he goes, oh yeah, I'd love to come back to Watford. Different situation there, as opposed to replying to a Watford fan post. Very different, because he's not going to say, no, I don't want to ever see I want to see the back of the Vic, and I don't ever want to come back. He ain't going to say that to a Watford fan, is he? So, but if he's got some neutral interviewer at Sky News, at Sky Sports rather, or at ITV, or at BBC, or on TNT or whoever, and they're whoever it is, and they're going, hey, would you like to come back to Watford? And he goes, yeah, I'd be delighted to come back there and help them out. Different, even though he's not going to say no to anybody like that either, but different kind of context there, because that is going to have a lot more effect, I think. But we'll see. I don't think he's going to come back to Watford, by the way. But thanks for the fill-in there. João Pedro to United. Thank you, Jack, for the fill-in. And here's Andy Goddard. João Pedro to United would be a great move. Just hope they don't wreck him like they did to Sancho. Yeah, Sancho was awful there, wasn't he? Sancho completely, Sancho, don't forget, as you know, Andy, played with Dortmund, Borussia Dortmund, and was terrific there. And then he came to Man U and absolutely laid an egg. Really poor, wasn't he? He was in the Bundesliga, just was absolutely on fire. And then when he came to United, Old Trafford, I don't know what happened there. Yeah, that was not good for his career. Sometimes that happens with players. They will come to one club, they'll be brilliant. They'll go to another club and they won't see the back of anything, not even the goal. And it happens. It happens. And then now Sancho looks like he's picked things up at Chelsea. But then Ennio Maresca, whatever his first name is, Elia Maresca, whatever his first name is there, has done a very good job at Chelsea. I mean, Chelsea are right up in it now, aren't they? So, yeah, that's a good point. I hope he doesn't get wrecked. I think João Pedro's got a bit more pedigree to him than Sancho does, quite frankly. And I think João Pedro's has got a bit more steel to him than Sancho does. Maybe they move into slightly different areas of the pitch, or maybe not. But I think as people, I think João Pedro's got a bit more grit to him than Sancho does. But that's just my view of that. Pretty sure we added a sell-on clause for Pedro too. If he goes upwards of 80 million, we could be all right there, said Jack Boddington. Yeah, I think we did add a sell-on clause. I think you're right about that, Jack. That would be tremendously beneficial for Watford as well. And so, yeah, that would be. And he will go for, let me tell you, I totally agree. If he ever does go to Man U, it will be above £80 million. There's no doubt about it. He's worth that at the minute. I don't think that's out of it. I do not think that's an exaggeration. If he went for above north of £80 million, that is absolute. That's a good valuation for him, and probably a bit higher than 80 anyway. That is not something that people should sneak at, scoff at, is the word I'm trying to find. That would be, listen, if it happens, I'll be all in favor of it. It's good for a lot of different teams, for Watford, for Man U, and obviously the team of João Pedro, if you will. So thank you for that. Sancho was so badly managed at Man United, says Andy. Yeah, I agree. The leadership there, Andy adds, has been just woeful. Yeah, it's been poor from the ownership, and I know they've changed that a bit now because the Glazers aren't the majority owners anymore. I think Sir Jim Ratcliffe and his lot who are the majority owners now. So that's changed a bit. But yeah, the ownership has not done any favors to this club, to Man U. I mean, forgive me, I know I'm talking about another club here other than Watford, but listen, it's a football conversation, and I love Watford to death. But listen, there are times where there are other clubs who do things that we could be talking about if we wish, especially after when Watford win a game. But I'm happy to take on comments about other clubs as well, but mostly, of course, our club that we love so dearly, this club right here, Watford Football Club. But yeah, the management and the whole thing's been awful there. I would have kept on Ruud van Nistelrooy. I know he lost in the first game for Leicester last night against Newcastle, and Newcastle just destroyed them. Leicester were really off it. Hamza Chowdhury, our former Watford player, who of course was on loan to us from Leicester, was out injured for like 2 or 3 months, and he played his first game back. They all looked off of it there. But in terms of Man U, yeah, the leadership has been really poor. Bruno Fernandes has not been, let's be fair, he's not been a great captain at Man U either. Listen, he's taken on that mold. He's not been the best captain there. He's not led by example a lot of times for them. But anyway, that's enough of United for me. Let's get back to our we can talk about, if you want to talk about me, but I'd rather talk about Watford. Not holding anything against anybody who wants to bring up any other club. But we are Watford fans here, and it's good to talk about Watford, especially after a victory. And got to love that we was beating that's Matt saying that as well. But you know what? I'm going to do a quiz. I'm going to do one quiz real quick. And it's going to be a quiz that probably Instagrammers are very familiar with. And this goes for you on YouTube as well. I will say this to you. I'm going to give you a preliminary quiz. And that means that you have as much time as you want in the whole universe to get the answer to the question right. You can look it up if you want. But when it comes to, if you get that question right, the first one to get it correct and hopefully spell it correctly will be the person that I will ask 3 quiz questions of. And you've got to get all 3 of these right to get a Watford prize. And I hope you can. So again, first one to get the preliminary question correct will be the person I go to, who will have 3 questions asked of them. You've got to get each of the questions correct to go on, of course, to win the Watford prize. So here we go. The question, anyone can answer this question on either Instagram or YouTube. And the rule is, for the preliminary question, the first comment that comes up on my screen, whether on Instagram or YouTube, if that comment is the correct answer, that's the person I go with. Even if your screen sees a different person come up, it's what I see on my screen here in the United States that counts. And so that's critical to understand. So that being said, let's get to it. One question, the preliminary quiz question, and then we'll go. Hopefully, if someone can get that correct, we'll then ask that person 3 Watford questions. Okay, here we go. I want you to tell me, fellow Watford supporter, what was the scoreline today of the game at the Vic? Really easy question. First person whose comment comes up on my screen will be the person I asked 3 questions of. What was the final score of today's game? Oh my goodness, someone's got to type that in. I haven't seen anybody. Hey, Jack Boddington, quick on the draw from Australia. Well done. Jack is back. Thank you, Jack Boddington. You get it absolutely spot on. The correct answer to the preliminary question was Watford 2, West Bromwich Albion 1. I asked, what was the final score of the game today? 2-1 it was. Thank you, Jack, for getting that correct right away. Now, Jack, I have 3 questions for you as we close out this edition of the You Orns post-match on YouTube and the You Orns Extra on Instagram Live. We're going to finish with this quiz. And, Jack, you have 7 seconds to get, that's the new rule this year. You get this season, you get an extra second of time to get these right. And remember, you've got to get them spelt correctly as well. That's very important. 7 seconds to get this first question correct. I really would like for you to do this, Jack. Best of luck to you, all right? Here we go. Name me the number of managers Watford had last season. Watford men's first team. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, it's incorrect. Oh my goodness. The number of Watford managers that there were last season. I understand why you said 1, but really it's 2. Tom Cleverley and, of course, before him, Valérien Ismaël. I get it. I understand why you said 1, but it's 2, right? Because when you look at this, you had Tom Cleverley as interim, but he was made manager that season, right? So that's a very tricky question, and I can understand why you said 1, but don't forget Val Ismaël and Cleverley. There we go. That's the key, Jack. And if you get it wrong, the quiz is over. Jack, that's a good guess, though. It's a tricky one because people think that Clevs came, a lot of what, not a lot, but some people think, oh, Clevs came in this season. He started the season at the beginning of the season as a Watford, but don't forget, he was here last season as well. Oh, I know. Thank you for trying there, Jack. Good guess. Tricky question because, again, if I had said, name me how many interim managers there were, you would have got it correct. And if I had said how many Watford managers, well, no, actually, that second one is not a good example. But if I had said, name me which manager started the season, you would have been able to get that correct as well last season. Because obviously, Valérien Ismaël started the season. And I thought he was going to make it through the entire season, but he didn't. But I predicted before this season began that Tom Cleverley would easily make it through the end of this season. And that's what's going to happen here. I think unquestionably, you've not heard anything about anything. You believe that there were some Watford fans this season who were actually calling for Clevs to get sacked? Do you remember that? If you were on social media, especially on X, there were Watford fans calling for Clevs to go. And it was over the issue of Jonathan Bond not being allowed to continue to play in goal. And I was a Bond supporter. I thought Bond, I still think Bond's a better goalkeeper. And I was lobbying for Bond to keep playing the games. But there were actually Watford fans going, right, Clevs needs to go because he's still putting Backman in. How on earth can you call for the manager to go because he's not putting in Jonathan Bond? I'm sorry, they can't. Not with the results that we were having. Anyway, Jack Boddington says, I only remember Valérien Ismaël because he answered my question in a question video once. Okay. That's good. You got to take it where you can get them, Jack. Oh, Cleverley, says Andy Goddard. Jack Boddington says, I'm sorry, but if Thomas William Cleverley gets sacked, I'm never watching another game. Yeah. After what they did with Rob Edwards, I might join you with that because, I think some of us have only barely just forgiven. Oh, actually not forgiven. I think some of us only barely just gotten over the fact that Rob Edwards, we have got over the fact that he's gone because he's with that lot now, isn't he? So, yeah, we don't give a shit. I almost swore on the air. We don't give a you-know-what about the fortunes of Mr. Edwards now, do we? especially after what happened last month or in October, whenever the heck that was that we played that lot. But we've got revenge on our minds against them too. We're coming for them as well. So don't get too happy over there up the M25. Don't get too happy because we're coming for you when we play you lot at the Vic coming up when in April or whenever the heck it is we play them again. But anyway, oh, mate, says Andy Goddard, there were fans calling for Cleves to leave while he was out injured after scoring against Burnley. Yep, there were. And I was not one of them. I did criticize Cleverly at times, but I didn't criticize him that night. That was the last game he played for us. And that, yeah, he was injured, in the process of score, and he couldn't really celebrate that goal. And that was the only goal of the game, Andy. That was the game winner in the first half. I think it was right before halftime as well. And I'm doing this off of memory. That was the season after we got relegated from the Premier League. Fans are fickle. You better believe it, Andy, as Andy Goddard has just said. That is so true. Watford fans are no exception to that. I mean, Bio, now you got some of the fans who are now saying they'd keep Bio. And I know that some of us who've said that, some of us have wanted him out of here. Not me. I have definitely criticized him 1 or 2 times. I'm a big fan of his, but I definitely have criticized him at points 1 or 2 times this season. That he's got to be better than this. And he has it in his locker to do. And he's showing you now 9 goals this season. He ain't even started half these games. Barely. Yeah, he has not started. He's come off the bench for a number of these games. Now, recently he's been getting a long starting run, which is good. He had not scored, I think, in the last 4, 3 or 4 perhaps. But he's coming good. The crow is crowing. So let's keep going. That rhymes. But there we go. Edwards won't be there for long, says Jack Boddington. Yeah, he won't. I mean, there were rumors about him getting put out to pasture by that lot as well a few weeks ago. And I think they just took another loss, didn't they, yesterday? They took another. Wasn't it Middlesbrough that beat them the other day, or yesterday, or somebody beat them yesterday? So yeah, they took a loss yesterday, I think. So I think he's a goner. I don't think he's going to last the season either. I think maybe during Christmas or after Christmas, he's gone from there. Hope Edwards is still there for the return leg, says Andy. Yeah, I know. We should have that, shouldn't we? Because we've not beaten them with him in charge. I don't think. I can't remember that because I think Nathan Jones was in charge when we waxed them in that game. And then I think the game when we had, was it Chris Wilder as our manager? We lost that game. And Nathan Jones is just a joke. I totally agree with that, Andy. He's been riding the coattails of that Nathan Jones for too long, yeah. And I know Bananarama did a song called Nathan Jones, and other people have. Nathan Jones, you've been gone too long. Nathan Jones, you ain't been gone long enough. Nathan Jones, oh, geez. That's a whole... Anyway, do I really want Nathan Jones? How's this getting Southampton jobs? Southampton are going to get relegated, but remember when they were last in the Premier League, and you remember this, Andy, maybe other people do. This guy had 15 games in charge, and I don't know how he got that job other than his name is Nathan Jones, because he anyway, that's a whole nother story. I mean, you give him a Premier League job off of the back of that, being at that lot that mess up the M25. How is he getting a job? And he was horrible at Southampton. He was awful. I think they won once in them 15 or 16 that he was there. And then they canned him like they should have. Should never have got that job. And their other managers deserve a job. And this lot, I mean, where's Leroy Rossini right now? He got sacked at Hull and he had them in 7th. Where's his job at Southampton? God, dearie me. Anyway, I could go on about that forever over Nathan Jones. Nathan Jones isn't that. I mean, he was good at, yes, Andy, as you point out, he was good at Luton. And I'm sure they did it off the back of that. But I'm telling you, Leroy Rossini did a blooming good job at Hull last season. He had them finish in 7th. And they got rid of him at Hull. Oh, what? But again, this is how this goes. And yeah, Nathan Jones is a company man. And, yes, he did a good job at Luton. I agree with you, Andy. He did a good job at Luton, unfortunately, as you point out. But the Saints was not the right place for him at all. Yeah, it wasn't. It was absolute dog's dinner there. But you put someone in a big job like that, and they can fold. If you talk about Sancho, I'll talk about Nathan Jones. I mean, fold like a cheap suit, and he did at Southampton. And Southampton played Tottenham today. Lord knows how that went. We let go of Ivic. Yeah, I think we were at one point we were second. I think we let go of him when we were fifth or sixth. I think we were sixth. I think fifth or sixth when we canned Ivic. And you remember this, Andy, and those of you watching on YouTube and Instagram, Cisco came in on Boxing Day. The first game Cisco came in on was that Boxing Day game at the Vic. It was a Saturday night, and it was the 1-0 game against Norwich. Guess who scored? That should be a quiz question, but I know you know the answer. I should give the answer to you. But you know who scored, especially if you were at that game, because it was behind closed doors. It was the COVID era. There was nobody at the stadium. Oh no, wrong answer. No, it was not. It was not Dennis. It was Norwich, and it was Saar. Saar scored the goal right before the half, and that was the only goal of that game. That was December the 26th, 2020, almost exactly 4 years ago. Good. It's not a terrible guess from you, Andy, but it was Saar. You can go look that up if you want confirmation. I know. I watched the game. I wasn't there, but I watched it. But it was Saar who scored the goal against Norwich City. It was in the Championship. It was a 1-0 game, and that was the only goal of that game. And so that was it. And the game against Norwich, and I think what you're talking about is the game at Carrow Road. This game that Cisco had, because Cisco was the manager for that game as well. But the difference is that was the season before. The season before, the one I'm talking about, is the season when we were in the Championship under Cisco. And that was Cisco's first game in charge for us. And it was after Ivic got sacked. And basically, Troy Deeney sacked him. And you remember this. It was an empty stadium because it was COVID era. It was Boxing Day. It was a Saturday. It was a 1-0. Saar got the goal. Now, the following season, when we went to Carrow Road, Dennis got the goal at Carrow Road against Norwich, Andy, and it was the backflip, the somersault, and yes, the fan in the stands from Norwich giving the infamous IQ salute. His IQ was being displayed to Dennis, who scored that goal to the great black backflip celebration. That was in the Premier League the following season, but that was the one. That was also against Norwich, but different kind of game, different game from the one I'm talking about there, Andy. But I appreciate it all the same. I'm going to go to Matt next. Matt says, well, those fans need to start taking back their words, asking for Cleverley to go after how well he's been doing. I agree. There's no question about it, Matt. They've got to eat their cake now. And leave Cleverley alone, and also leave Bio alone for that matter. The man's scoring goals for you. I mean, come on. And the man, Clevs, is managing. He's managing his socks off now, and he's got these lads playing for him. End of story. He's got these lads playing for him. And there's a good rhythm, there's a good continuity, there's a good spirit, good chemistry. That man has got to keep managing. And I told you before the season began, back in July. Now, listen, on a podcast, I said it. Tom Cleverley will make it through the entire season, no problem. And that's exactly what's going to happen. My predictions have been spot on this season, as a number of you have alluded to. And I keep boasting about it, but I don't care. I'm going to post. Thank you, everybody. Tracy, hello again. Nice to see you back. Lovely to have you, as always, here on the post-match. And Andy says, another question for you then. Where were we in the league when we let go of Beppe Sanino? Now, Beppe, of course, this was when, look, remember this, Beppe got sacked early into the next season, because that's when we got promoted. If I'm not mistaken, it was the 2013-2014 season. And we had a really good win against Bolton, I think it was. And Beppe got sacked that next season, about a month into the season, Andy. And this was the 2014-15 season. Right, because Djukanovic came in, And Djukanovic did not start that season. Now, someone can correct me. This is all off the top of my head now, so I'm subject to correction. But Beppe got sacked, I think, in that September of that season. The following season, I think he got sacked. And so that would have been the 2014-15 season, Andy. And you can check that and check me if I'm wrong. And Savica Djukanovic, I don't think began that season with us. And he took over from there. And what happened? We got a promotion. Of course, who can forget the scenes at Brighton, right? When we went to the Amex and we got Vydra with the goal and Dini with the goal, the great pass out from Dini to Vydra and sealed the deal, and Vydra with a salute, did the full arm salute. Oh, man, and that was brilliant. And we weren't up yet then because we had to depend on Fulham against Middlesbrough, and Middlesbrough had to stink it up. And remember that was like 3-3 or 4-4 that game ended. And Fulham, I think they got a late goal to equalize or something, and that meant that Watford were going up. I mean, remember, Middlesbrough were right in the mix that season because remember, Watford had to play Middlesbrough. I think it was after that game or before it, and it was a 2-0 Watford win. It was on a Monday afternoon. It might have been a bank holiday Monday at the Vic. 2-0. I remember all these games. Now, again, if I'm wrong, please correct me. I'm not perfect. None of us is. I'm not perfect with this. But I'm pretty blooming sure Igalo scored one of them goals as well. But we won 2-0 against Middlesbrough. But the bottom line is that game, Savica Djukanovic, I don't think started the season. Beppe got sacked back in, I think, September of that season that we got promoted from the Championship out of. When we got promoted to the Premier League because at the end of that season, we ended up going up. And we ended up going up automatic. It was no playoffs. It was automatic. Remember that. And the key win before that game against Brighton, I think, was the Middlesbrough game, if I'm not mistaken. We had a chance. I think that, yeah, it was the Brighton game, and Brighton, we had to wait because that was the early game. We had to wait for Fulham against Middlesbrough. I think it was actually the early game, or maybe it was the same time, but Fulham kicked off later against Middlesbrough. That was a crazy game. Fulham and Middlesbrough going up and down, seesaw back and forth, and it was crazy. And it turned out that Fulham got a late goal. I think they won that game 4-3, Fulham did. It was really, really, really close. And we needed Fulham to win the game, either to draw or win. And I think Fulham got a late goal. 4-3 was the final score. You can go look it up. Again, this is all off the top of my head. This is from 7 years ago now, or 8 years ago now, whatever, 10 years ago now, almost. And it was 2015. This is nearly 10 years ago. It's 9 years ago plus. And that I remember very clearly. It was 4-3 Fulham right at the death. And then I remember all them celebrations. You lot ran into the Watford High Street, jumped in the pool, jumped in the water. Did you any of you lot jump in the water when we got the promotion? And remember the Watford bus and all the lads, they're like, oh! And everybody was the fans celebrate the bus, Andy. The Watford players, they got on the bus when they heard the scoreline from Craven Cottage. They're like, oh! Everybody was jumping up and down. Vydra, all of them in the bus were absolutely going mental. And then that lot, you lot in the high street, I don't know if you were in the Watford High Street then. I was still over here. I was not. I did not fly over. But everybody was absolutely living it up, swimming in that pool and Watford High Street, swimming in it. Anyway, I want to go to Matt. Matt, Omar, full time at Norwich, ended Norwich 1, Burnley 2. Oh, Matt, thank you for that. And I know you had that comment up a little while now, but I didn't get to it. My apologies. Matt, thank you for that. The final score, Norwich 1, Burnley 2. So that tells you now, it sets up a very good scoreline. Both teams winning 2-1 today. Watford 2-1, Burnley 2-1. And so they face each other this Saturday. Oh my goodness me. Massive game. That's a game that Watford need to win as well, by the way. Because if we can chase down Burnley, we are right up in it. So that's a really, really good game. Good effort by Burnley today because they were down in that game against Norwich. Burnley ending a winless run, I think. They had gone about 4 games without a win. I think Burnley did. Maybe. And they got a big, very important win at Carrow Road. Speaking of Norwich, they got a very good win there today. Norwich City, who beat us badly. We've got some payback for them too, by the way. They beat us very badly back in September or October. Very, very badly. And so we'll see how we can fare with them. But we go to Turf Moor next Saturday, and we'll see how that goes. Beppe was sacked. And again, I think we may have been second in the league. You're right, mate. Pretty sure, says Andy. Let me read out some of the rest of yours as well. Jan, thank you, Jan, for joining us. David, hello again, David. Thank you very much as well. Also, you, of course, have been a frequent commenter on X. Really appreciate your contributions there. Thank you for coming aboard here as well. Andy says, think we were high then also. Yeah, we were. When we sacked Beppe Sanino, we were in the top 6 as well. We might have been second or third. We might have been, as you point out. I can't remember the player's name, but there was a guy we had, says Andy, from Leicester, who was out of favor, who led the charge on ousting him out also, ? Yeah, Lloyd Dyer. You're talking about Lloyd Dyer. Lloyd Dyer was the guy. And by the way, when Beppe was there, Lloyd Dyer had scored a goal, and he ran straight over, I think, to Beppe, or ran in his direction and like started shouting at him, saying, why didn't you put me in from the start? That was at the Vic one time, or away from home. So yes, Lloyd Dyer is the player, D-Y-E-R, Lloyd Dyer, who actually was a really good player. But yeah, when he came to Watford, he did some good things. But yeah, he really was not high on the Watford manager at the time. And he was out of favor. And he was one of the players who did lead the instigation of getting Beppe out of there. And because, Beppe wasn't giving him any playing time. So, that is a very good point you make there, Andy. That's right. Player power having its way. Yeah, the game's changed a lot, for better or worse. Some players do wield a lot more influence now. I think that's good and bad, because I think there are times when players need to do that for their own, looking out for themselves. They don't want anybody ripping them off, owners and all the rest. And then it can be toxic at times when that doesn't happen, when you have player power, because it can result in ousting managers, and some of the managers who are ousted don't deserve in quotes that fate. Now, Beppe, we can talk about that all day long. There's lots of things about Beppe. Complaints about his training at the time was just absolutely ridiculous, that the training was just absolutely running through the roof, running on the roof, running down the roof, cartwheeling on the roof, somersaulting on the roof, and then doing some tightrope walking between here and, I don't know. It was just asinine from what I'd heard. But that's what happened. And I think he was close to the top of the table when he got sacked. The Borough game, yes, it did promote us. I was right about that, and you're absolutely correct, Andy, about that. The Borough game, when Fulham won that game 4-3, that was the one. And Andy says, I watched that Brighton goal in a pub in Wolverhampton where I was living at the time. Total nuts reaction from me was mildly inappropriate after what happened between that season. Oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear. Now, Watford and Wolves that season. Now, if we're talking, yeah, that's right. Oh, dear, yeah. That was a rough, because I think that game, Watford against Wolves that season, if we're talking about the game at Molineux, that was a 2-2 scoreline. That was also the game where that Watford fan was brutally beaten. And I forget his name. And someone will remember his name without... if you're going to look it up, fine. If someone's going to look that up, fine. I was trying to remember his name without looking it up, and I'm not going to look it up. But someone will remember who the name of that fan was. And yeah, he got beaten by these Wolves fans. And that was a 2-2 game. Yeah. You had to probably watch yourself at that pub there in Wolverhampton, Andy, after that goal. That's a pretty iffy one there in that situation. And I don't remember what year that was. I mean, that might have been a different year from the Brighton goal, because the Brighton goal, if you're referring to the 2-0 Watford win in 2015, that might be a different season from the 2-2 Watford game at Molineux, Andy. And again, I'm doing this all off the top of my head, so I have to look at that and make sure that's correct. Lloyd Dyer, I said yes. Lloyd Dyer, says Andy. I wanted to say Bruce, but knew then that was wrong. Nick Cruz, thank you, Nick Cruz. Yes, thank you. Nick Cruz, yeah, Cruwys, exactly. I wonder how he's doing. Yeah, and I remember the hashtag as well, for Nick for promotion. Thank you. Yeah, I remember that very well. I just didn't remember his full name, and I didn't remember his first name either. But yeah, for Nick for promotion was the hashtag that ran, and it worked out, didn't it? And I do think that was actually 2000. I do think that was more recently, for some reason. I don't think it was 2015 that happened to Nick. I think that happened later than that, but I can be wrong. But I think that was later. I think that was maybe 2021. And I do think that was probably when what happened to Nick happened to him. So it might have been two different seasons that you're referencing there, Andy. I think it is. But I really do want to thank everybody. Same season, I was in Canada after that. You sure about that? Same season? Okay. Then I will trust that you are correct on that. I've not looked it up myself. I moved here in 2015. Okay. Well, then obviously that was the time they got promoted in 2015 before the 2021. So then we'll go with that. Absolutely there, Andy. Thank you very much indeed for that. And we are going to leave it there now, way past time, but this was a really good and enjoyable You ORNS Watford FC post-match on YouTube. And of course, You ORNS Watford FC extra, You ORNS extra on Instagram Live, I should say. After Watford 2, West Brom Albion 1, lots of football being played. Of course, the derby is going on. So I'm going to pop in and take a look at that as well, the Manchester derby. Bournemouth at home, says Andy, was my last game. Wow, got Sean Murray's champagne bottle. Ooh, very nice. Very nice. That's really good. That's really good stuff. Well done, Andy. I hope you still have it. I'm sure you do. Surprised he'd hand away a bottle. Yeah, I know. Players never do stuff like that. Not when they're celebrating promotion. You kidding? But anyway, good on you, Andy. Thank you very much indeed for your contributions. Good to see you again here on Instagram. We'll see you again this weekend on both Instagram and on YouTube and on X. Thank you, Steve. Hello, Steve Pine, for joining us. You've joined us at the tail end of what has been, I think, close to 2 hours. Well, at least an hour of Instagram time, more than 2 on YouTube at You ORNS WFC. Follow us there. Join the YouTube channel. Subscribe to the videos and like the videos as well. It's been a pleasure having you aboard here on You ORNS Extra on Instagram Live and here on YouTube at You ORNS WFC on the YouTube channel. The final score once again was Watford 2 and West Brom Albion 1. Thank you, Tracy. See you all next week. Stay safe. Thank you, Tracy. You stay safe as well, Tracy. Great to have you here as always. Thank you for your contributions. And we'll see you this coming Saturday, of course, for Burnley versus Watford pre and post here on You ORNS Extra on Instagram Live. Thank you so much indeed. What a great day it was for Watford. 2-1 winners, unbeaten, 16 straight now at the Vic, unbeaten. And Tom Cleverley continues to walk on water. And so does Georgie Shakpataza and Bakumbaya with his 2 goals. The whole team doing very well right now. Rocco Vata, Quadwo Bar, and all the rest. The defense has been good. Backman has improved in goal. Loser, a new lease on life. Thank you indeed. Good to chat with you as well. Thanks, Omar, says Andy Goddard. Good to chat with you as well. Thank you, Matt. I'll see you next week. You have a great week as well. Thank you as well. The regulars on YouTube as well. That is it for now. You ORNS is over with for this time around. But until next weekend, where we go to Turf Moor, take care and have a good rest of your Watford week.